Okay, Lincoln Scholars, it is that time of day again. You know what it is. Story time. Woo! I hope you all had a magnificent Monday. I hope you all did some work in those packets. I hope that you were able to take a little walk and go over to Polson or wherever your nearest grab and go station is. They are still doing those lunches, which is very important. Listen, parents, let them go get those lunches. They're not going to eat you out of house and home during Corona time. Let them go get those lunches. Just like if they were at school, they'd have the lunches. So they're serving things like, so today I think they had either a grilled cheese or a cheeseburger or a hamburger. I think Friday they had pizza. So they're not just sandwiches, guys. They are actually hot meals that your parents could put in the oven or in a microwave for you. So please make sure you are going over there and getting them. I hope you saw the video earlier today. I was allowed back in the building just to get some work because even though you all are off right now, we are preparing to do some online learning with you for you all. So I had to go get some work so we could do our trainings and everything this week. And hopefully, next week we'll be ready to go for some online learning. Wouldn't that be awesome, parents? Woo! So I know by now everybody has heard Governor Wolf has said that we are at the stay-at-home order has been in place until April 30th. I saw them putting up in the basketball courts, they put wood over the hoops so you all cannot go and play basketball. It is important, so important that you all practice social distancing. We don't know who has been infected with anything, so we definitely don't want you getting infected with anything and bringing anything home. So especially if you have younger siblings or older grandparents or great-grandparents or uncles or aunts or adults, period, in the house. Or even those adults who have health ailments. So you don't want to bring something home if your sister or brother or cousin or another child in your family has like asthma or anything. You don't want them to get anything that could possibly potentially be dangerous for them. So please, please, please practice that social distancing. Wash those hands every time you touch something different. Try not to touch your face and your mouth and your nose. What we're finding out is that this virus lives inside of our sinus cavity because apparently it's the coolest part of your body. I didn't know that, but now I do. But just practice those safe practices that they're telling you about on TV. You only go outside if you need to go to the store, to a doctor, to the pharmacy, and if you're exercising. So you can go for a walk, not super long walks, but go for a walk and get some fresh air just to keep you from going stir crazy. Hopefully this week I'm going to bring you some exercise videos. I do have people submitting those jump rope videos. Oh yeah, I got a couple kids that sent me videos today, so watch out. If you are doing the jump rope challenge or if you want to just be a part of the video, videotape yourself jumping rope for as long as you can. So I've got some adults and I've got some kids with some submissions already, so we're ready. Friday, that video is up. All right, so today's story, get yourself situated for story time. It's called Ma Dear's Apron. And the book is by Patricia McKissick, illustrated by Floyd Cooper. Ma Dear's Apron. Let's find out about Ma Dear's Apron. This one is a pretty new book. David Earl always knew that what day of the week it was. He could tell by how clean, snappy, fresh the apron that Ma Dear is wearing. A different one for every day. Monday, David Earl knows it's Monday because Ma Dear puts on her blue apron, the one with the long pocket across the front. It's wash day, and that's where she keeps the clothespins. First, Ma Dear heats water in the big kettle and pours it into several tubs. Then she rolls up her sleeves and scrubs each piece of her on her rub board. David Earl would rather blow bubbles, but instead he gathers peach tree leaves for Ma Dear to use in the last rinse. That's the secret to my bright wash, Ma Dear explains as they hang out the sheets. So Ma Dear doesn't have a washing machine like some of you do. And maybe you can look this up, what a washboard looks like. So washboards are things where you scrub your clothes on. Now she's saying that if she gets some peach tree leaves, it helps her clothes to be nice and bright. I never heard that. Maybe. As the day ends, when the last sweet-smelling piece has been taken off of the line and folded, Ma Dear rests in her rocking chair. Her hands are red and chafed. She's so tired, yet she holds out her arms. Come, she says. David Earl crawls into his mother's lap. She reaches inside her blue apron pocket and takes out a wooden clothespin. Once there was a brave soldier, she begins. The clothespin becomes the soldier, standing at attention, who died fighting out west. David Earl looks at the flag and sword hanging over the mantelpiece. His name was Sergeant David Earl Bramlett, Sr., the same as mine, except I'm Junior, he adds, finishing the story he's heard many times before. Too soon, it's time for bed. Ma Dear kisses her son goodnight, and he drifts off to sleep, wrapped in a wind-dried sheet that smells of peach blossoms. So she's telling him a story about his father who went off to war and passed away at wartime. So it's just him and his Ma Dear. Tuesday. Why do you always wear a yellow apron on ironing day? David Earl wants to know. Yellow is the color of the sun, Ma Dear answers, and sunshine makes me feel good, even when I have to iron all day. It's Tuesday, and 6 baskets of clothes sit by the fireplace. Several sizes of irons are being heated over hot coals. David Earl gets to press a few pieces to practice. No cat faces now, his mother reminds him. He knows she'll check for little wrinkles that look like whiskers on the pieces that have been ironed. Remember how she's taught him. David Earl scoops a handful of water from the bowl and sprinkles it over the fabric. Then he irons and irons and irons. See? No cat faces, he says, holding up the handiwork. Oh, my goodness, Ma Dear replies, laughing at the scorched rag. The day is long and hot. Ma Dear dips the corner of her apron in the cold water and wipes David Earl's face. With the other corner, she wipes down her own. So this is the day we're on, Tuesday. Now, David Earl didn't make any cat whiskers on the ironing, but he burned it. She said he scorched the fabric. He burned it a little bit. But I guess that's what happens when you're practicing, right? At last, ironing day is over. All the baskets are filled and ready for delivery. David Earl lies fast asleep on a pallet near the door. A night breeze cools the room. Ma Dear covers the boy with her apron and blows out the candle. Do you think this is in the times that we are living right now? If they have candle for light, and I didn't read this page yet, but the wagon full of everything. And guess what Ma Dear's job is? Because she has a job other than taking care of David. So Ma Dear does the laundry and the ironing for some other people. So that's why she had so many baskets of laundry. Wednesday, after breakfast, on Wednesday, Ma Dear ties on her green apron with the hidden pocket, the treasure pocket, David Earl calls it. The boy helps his mother hitch her wagon to Gracious. They load the baskets, then set off across the railroad tracks to the other side of Avery, where all the rich people live. Ma Dear lets David Earl hold the reins, but Gracious knows his way. His mother rides along, looking straight ahead, and has told David Earl to do the same. But as they pass, he can't help sneaking a peek at the big chandelier inside the Grandview Opera House. Who's Gracious? Do you know who Gracious is? You're right. It's the horse. And this is how they're going to deliver all of the laundry. They don't have a car, so they have a horse and buggy, and they deliver all of that laundry. The mayor stops in front of a large mansion on the corner of Main and Tucker Streets. David Earl stands quietly beside Ma Dear at the basement door while Mrs. Hellenbach carefully checks her laundry. Your work is good, the woman says flatly, placing a quarter in Ma Dear's hand. Then casting her eye down to David Earl, the woman adds, You may have a peach off of my tree if you want. The boy stands erect and lifts his head proudly the way Ma Dear and his daddy did. No, thank you, he answered. On the way home, Ma Dear makes her usual stop at Hansel's General Store, where she buys a few staples and one treat. That evening, after David Earl has finished helping with the dinner dishes, he searches inside her apron. Look what I found, she says, pulling a penny peppermint stick out of the treasure pocket. So Ma Dear has taught David how to be very proud, and he didn't accept anything from anybody else. He knew he needed to work for it or do a job for it or do something for it. He didn't just accept things. But his mother gave him a treat later on that night because he'd been so helpful. Did the dishes, he helped with the ironing and the washing the other day. So he had a small treat, a nice peppermint stick. Thursday, when the southbound passenger train rumbles through Avery on its way to Huntsville, David Earl knows it's Thursday. And when the sun tops the big spruce like a silver ball, he knows it's noon. Come noon Thursday, Ma Dear puts on her cheerful pink apron, and they go to visit the sick and shut-in. But first, Ma Dear and David Earl feed the hens and the chicks and gather the eggs. Then they pick a dozen red ripe tomatoes, some okra, and a couple of cucumbers from their garden. We're going to take these to Madame Pearlie, Ma Dear says. David Earl is happy because Madame Pearlie is so interesting. She once was a famous singer who performed concerts on 3 continents. All she has left now are her piano, photo albums, and lots of memories. I was wondering what color apron Ma Dear was going to have on a Thursday. She picked lots of vegetables. They picked lots of vegetables from the garden. Madame Pearlie, did you really sing for the Queen of England? The boy asked when they got there. The proud and dignified woman slides to the piano stool. Her fingers know how to find the right keys. The Queen herself requested that I sing a spiritual, she's remembering. They tell me she had tears in her eyes when I finished Deep River. David Earl imagines he is in the huge concert hall filled with 3 chandeliers no bigger than the one at the Grand View Opera House. Queen Victoria seated in her box. Madame Pearlie bows gracefully and begins in a high, clear voice. Okay, Miss Parks is going to do the best that she can on this. Deep River, Lord, my home is over Jordan. Deep River, Lord, I want to cross over into the campground. The music stays in David Earl's head the rest of the day, and that night, just before he falls asleep, he hears Ma Dear humming the same melody as she always does by candlelight. So Miss Pearlie is an older lady, but she has her piano and she can play, and she used to sing for the Queen of England. Friday. Oh no, it's Friday again, says David Earl when he sees Ma Dear tie on her brown apron. Brown, so it won't show the dirt, she explains. On Friday, Ma Dear cleans the house after the Alexander family over in the Mission about 5 miles from Avery. David Earl has to go along. You're too young to stay home by yourself, she says, so don't even ask. Alton Montgomery gets to stay home alone. Alton Montgomery is not my son. But finish your breakfast so we can go. But no more buts, Ma Dear says in her no-nonsense voice, and stop that whining. David Earl eats his oatmeal in silence. David Earl's probably like a lot of you all who try to get your parents to get you to stay home. Not gonna happen. Not by yourself. When you try to get your parents to let you stay home alone. On the way there to the Alexander's house, Ma Dear is not so angry anymore. The house is big, but not nearly as grand as the Hillenbach mansion. Ma Dear says the Alexanders are expecting to be rich people, but they're not rich yet. Mrs. Alexander leaves a long list of things for Ma Dear to do while she works. Ma Dear teaches David Earl a new song. Inch along, like a poor inchworm. She covers his face with a handkerchief. Then she covers her own face with her apron. They beat the rugs, shovel ashes out of the fireplace, and scrub floors. When they stop for lunch, Ma Dear takes a piece of string from her apron pocket. She makes a Jacob's ladder, a crow's foot, and a cup and saucer. David Earls tries to make a string design, but they don't come out right. Back at work, Ma Dear goes upstairs. She changes the beds, dusts, and sweeps every room. Meanwhile, David Earl pretends he's an inchworm and he pulls weeds from Mrs. Alexander's flower garden, slowly moving down each row of blossoms. At sunset, on the way home, David Earl keeps trying to make the string designs. With a little help, he makes the Jacob's ladder. I did it, he said, and he does it again and again. So they have lots of cleaning. That's a pretty big fireplace. I think back in those times, they cooked in those fireplaces as well, so they didn't have stoves, but that's a pretty big one. And look at that. We make string things with string on our fingers. We make the Jacob's ladder, the cup and saucers, a witch's broom. I hope David gets to practice some more of those on his way home all night. I don't know how long it takes, but he gets lots of practice, I suppose. You all could practice this. This is something you could do with your pieces of string. I know you have string laying around. On Saturday, Ma Dear bakes pies. Wearing her flowered apron, she and David Earl gather apples out back. Ma Dear can peel a whole apple without breaking the skin. I tried that before. I always break the skin before the whole apple's done. Throw it over your shoulder, she says, and it will form the first letter in your name. And someone who loves you. David Earl does. And like magic, the peel forms the letter J. Ma Dear winks her eye. See, I told you Ma Dear's name is Janelle. When the pies are all baked and cooled, Gracious pulls Ma Dear and David Earl to the main train station where passengers buy every last one. At home, Ma Dear puts a coin in a small container on the top shelf of the cabinet. For your schooling come next year, she says. So Ma Dear does lots of jobs. She does laundry. She does cleaning for people at their house. Now she bakes pies and sells them. Ma Dear's doing a whole lot. Good for her. Then it's bath time. Ma Dear puts on an over-the-head gray apron. She pours hot water into a round tub tin. David Earl flaps his arms, splashing water everywhere. Look, I'm a big fish. No, you're a big mess, Ma Dear says. Just look at my floor. She pours in more hot water and gives him a good scrubbing from head to toe. Are you going to hang me out to dry like the sheets? I should, Ma Dear answers with a gleam in her eye. But instead she adds, I'm going to tickle your toes until you can say, Jack wick whack, stick ball and smack, tick tack, mick mack, skip scat jack. Between giggles, David Earl tries to repeat the tongue twister, but he can't say it fast enough. I give up, he cries, gasping with laughter. Ma Dear dries him and herself with the gray apron. Come on now, have a slice of apple pie. Whew, I was hoping he was going to get that apple pie. I'm going to tell you all this tongue twister again and see if you could practice it and say it real fast. On Sunday, a church bell rings in the distance. That's how David Earl knows it's Sunday. Ma Dear has a week's worth of workday aprons and one for every chore, but she never wears an apron on Sunday. This is your no work day, says David Earl, pulling up the pants that Ma Dear has made. Soon as he puts on his pair of shoes, Ma Dear brushes his hair. After service, why don't we take our supper down to the Sutter Mills Creek, she says. Can I fish? If you fish on Sunday, you'll catch the devil, Ma Dear says, adjusting her hat. David Earl glances up at the flag and swore it over the mantel and smiles. Did Pa fish on Sunday? He asks as they hurry out the door. Ma Dear never answered him. I bet you, what do you think? Do you think his dad, fished on Sunday since Ma Dear said if you fish on Sundays, you'll catch the devil? I hear somebody saying no. I hear one yes, but I hear most people saying no. I think that he probably didn't fish on Sundays. He may have fished on different days when Ma Dear was out doing some other things and he could take David down and fish, but probably not on Sundays. Okay, so here's the tongue twister. Jack wick whack, stick ball a smack, tick tack mick mack, skip scat jack. One more time. Jack wick whack, stick ball a smack, tick tack mick mack, skip scat jack. I need you all to practice that and send me some videos of you saying it. I just need to hear who's listening to my stories and who can get that tongue twister down. How did you like the story, Ma Dear's Apron? Tell me about it. Journal about it. Send me a little video of yourself telling me about the story and let me know how you liked it. Couldn't wait to read to you all again today. It's been a crazy, crazy day. But now it's that time for us to unwind and get ourselves ready for the bed. All right. So, here we go. Your cup of hot chocolate, your bundle of flowers, or just breathing. We're going to do it 3 times. So I'm going to do one of each. All right, you ready? Smell your hot chocolate. Oh, I'm sorry. Close your eyes and breathe in deep through your nose and out through your mouth. So I'm smelling my hot chocolate and blowing it cool. And let your body begin to relax. I have my flowers and I'm blowing the petals. And now I'm just going to breathe a little bit in through my nose as my body relaxes and out through my mouth. I'm going to just sit and relax for a little bit. All that stress in my shoulders has relaxed. And I'm now winding down for my evening. Remember to send me your videos this week of the jump ropes. Let me know how you like the story today. And then we'll be back tomorrow with some kind of activity or exercise or something. I haven't quite decided yet. Remember that I love you all. Your teachers love you and they miss you. Maybe you all can send a message to your teachers like we did the other day, just the messages. Maybe you can send a message, a video message to your teachers, and I will make sure they get it. They all get their videos. But in the meantime, please be safe, wash your hands, be kind to each other, be kind to your parents, and remember that I love you. And everyone at Lincoln loves you and misses you. Have a good night.